In a village blessed with peace and prosperity, one man's desperate wish for wealth led him to a forbidden power. But when greed took hold, his fortune became his curse, and his soul paid the price. The Curse of Greed, an African tale. Once, in a beautiful African village surrounded by lush green hills, people lived simple, peaceful lives. They were content with what they had, grateful for the harvests and the beauty around them. In this village, an elder sat under a great tree, his face calm and wise. People came to him for guidance, for he knew the secrets of life and the balance needed to live in harmony. One of the villagers was very wealthy. He wore the finest clothes, lived in the largest house, and had more than enough food and riches. Yet, despite all his wealth, he was never satisfied. He wanted more, always comparing himself to others, always fearing the loss of his fortune. Not far from his grand house lived a poor man. His clothes were worn, his house small and simple, and he struggled to provide for his family. Often, he watched the rich man from afar, longing for a life of comfort and luxury. One day, overcome with despair, the poor man went to the wise elder. "Great elder," he pleaded, "I am tired of this life of poverty. I wish to change my fate. Tell me, how can I escape this misery?" The elder looked at him with gentle eyes and spoke, "Deep in the forbidden forest lies a mystical artifact. It is said to grant great wealth to those who find it. But beware, for it demands humility. Greed will awaken its curse." Desperate for a better life, the poor man set out on a journey to find the artifact. He ventured deep into the dense forest, where the trees whispered ancient secrets and shadows danced in the mist. Finally, he found it. A glowing relic beautifully crafted, shimmering with a magical light. As soon as he touched the artifact, his life changed. Gold filled his pockets, his house became a grand mansion, and fine clothes adorned his body. He was no longer poor, he was now the wealthiest man in the village. People respected him, admired him, and he finally felt a power he once envied. But the artifact's magic was not ordinary. It granted wealth, but demanded respect. At first, the man was generous, sharing his riches with the villagers. But soon, greed crept into his heart. He wanted more land, more gold, more power. He stopped sharing, becoming obsessed with his wealth, fearing that it would all disappear. His heart grew cold, his smile faded, and darkness surrounded his once joyful home. His greed knew no bounds. He hoarded riches, pushing away anyone who came near, including his friends and family. The more he gained, the more he feared losing it all. Then, one fateful night, the curse revealed itself. His gold turned to dust, his grand mansion crumbled, and his body began to harden. His hands became stiff, his face rigid, his skin turned to stone, his eyes wide with terror. He was trapped, his soul consumed by his own greed. When the villagers awoke, they found his mansion in ruins. In the center, where his wealth was once displayed, stood a stone figure, a man frozen in fear, his hands clutching at invisible riches. They realized it was him, the once poor man who had risen to wealth but fallen to greed. The elder looked at the cursed figure and sighed. Greed is a hunger that can never be satisfied. It consumes everything, even the soul. From that day on, the villagers remembered his story. They learned to be content, to share what they had, and to value wisdom over wealth. And deep in the forest, the mystical artifact waited, glowing softly, waiting for the next heart foolish enough to seek it. For the curse of greed never dies, it only waits.